Well, hello, this is the Power of After Show, and we are all about helping you with your next chapter of life. And today we're talking about compartmentalizing stress. And some days it feels like everything hits at once. A demanding workload that keeps growing, a coworker who pushes boundaries, unfinished conversations, waiting at home, and financial pressures that just seem to tighten by the day. And it's the kind of day that leaves you really mentally stretched and wishing just for 5 minutes to breathe. And in those moments, the idea of separating your stress into manageable pieces, it just feels unrealistic. But the truth is that learning how to compartmentalize your stress, it can be one of the most powerful ways to protect your energy, your clarity, and your relationships. And today we're going to talk about what that actually looks like. Not ignoring problems, but giving each one its proper place so it doesn't spill into everything else. And this is especially important during the holidays as this episode is released. And we're going to walk through practical strategies that help you regain control of your mindset, of your time, and of the moving parts of your life that often just feel overwhelming. So stay tuned. Power of After is for you at mid-career, half-time of life, helping you maximize your skills, resources, and experience. We have courses, products, and help to make this stage of your life your best and most purposeful ever. Don't miss a single article, free download, or podcast. Get all the latest at goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter. Now, let's dive into today's episode. You've had a hard day at work with a colleague that seems to be taking advantage of the company's goodwill and your time. More work with hard deadlines lands on your desk, even as you're trying to wrap up the tasks already waiting for you. And meanwhile, at home, a disagreement still lingers in the air, and the mounting unpaid bills, they feel heavier than ever, with everything costing more. You're tired. You want a break, but the break just never seems to arrive. Well, in moments like this, compartmentalizing stress, it doesn't feel logical or even feasible, but you wish you knew whether it could actually work. Well, there's good news. It can. And not only does it work, but it's also one of the most effective tools we have for protecting our mental bandwidth, protecting our productivity and our relationships and our health. And I can spend time giving many steps to do this. And actually, I'm going to share some steps and strategy. But the main takeaway is to remember those two words: compartmentalizing stress. And if you focus there, you can visualize putting different parts of your life and events in their little boxes. Compartmentalizing isn't a denial. It's not pretending that stress doesn't exist. I mean, it does, right? Instead, it's creating intentional containers for every part of life so one stressful moment just doesn't leak into every other area of your day. And in this episode, an article that comes with this, we will explore how compartmentalizing, how it works and why it matters, and how you can build practical systems that give you more control over your mindset, over your schedule, and the everyday details that often feel overwhelming. And I practice many of these as well. I'm not perfect, but I really work on it. Why we struggle when everything blends together. Well, stress becomes unmanageable when everything mixes into everything else. Remember the tie-dye spinning machines? Anybody remember those? They took a group of colors and they spin them into a design on a t-shirt. Well, that's what life can feel like sometimes when you just have every issue, every color just dumped in and spinning. And when work problems follow you home, and when home disagreements, they cloud your morning meetings, and when bills and emails and deadlines and parenting and housekeeping and emotional exhaustion, when they all stack together like an overfilled plate, your mind just has nowhere to really rest. It just keeps spinning. And humans aren't built to hold everything at once. We're really built to handle one thing at a time. But our modern world, oh, it encourages constant multitasking. I actually do this quite a bit. I'm not always successful, but we want immediate responses and we have never ending noise. And compartmentalizing, it creates mental walls like healthy boundaries and space that allows you to handle today's demands without collapsing under tomorrow's concern. And it's not avoidance, it's strategic attention management. Love those words. Strategic attention management. So, what compartmentalizing actually means? To compartmentalize stress is to say, well, this worry belongs here at this time, but it doesn't get to travel with me everywhere I go. Put it away, right? You're choosing when and when not to engage emotionally with a problem. And you're limiting a stressful issue to a time and a space where you can process it productively, not destructively, because it'll end up taking over everything else and we don't do anything well. And this power can change your day. It can change your relationships, and it can even change, your health. Wow. Now that's a big one. Let's talk through how to make it a daily practice. And I'm giving you 5 steps here. I do have a download with this article as well. Make sure you get it. So step 1 is to gain control of your mindset and recognize what's yours to carry and what isn't. Boy, is that a hard one. I've been in situations, especially when producing my original musicals and working with casts, with theaters, with directors, and with deadlines, and where I didn't even know if I could handle any more in my life. I was so stressed, but I knew I had to keep going. There were so many people depending on me and a show to put on. It was already being promoted. It was viable stress, but focusing on one thing at a time that I could handle was the key. I couldn't control some of the circumstances, but I could control me and my mindset. Now, much of our stress, it comes from carrying mental loads that just don't belong to us. We're not giving them away enough. And if you're a fixer like I am, I definitely am. My husband calls me on this many times. It's hard not to want to fix an unfair system or a colleague's poor work ethic. We have to focus on what is ours to carry. And this entails us asking, is this mine to carry right now? A lot of times it's just out of our control. And if the answer is no, well, you place it in that little mental folder labeled, not for today. And if the answer is yes, you place it in a folder labeled for the action at the right time. And that alone can reduce the emotional weight dramatically. Oh, but it's not easy. I know this. Another thing we can do is to give our brain a landing zone. I think of an airplane taking off or landing. The human brain, it just hates ambiguity. Undefined stress, it can loop endlessly. It spins. It just keeps us up at night. And to contain stress, you've got to name it. So be honest. Is it really a person, a circumstance, or is it a personal issue? And one of the biggest stress issues in relationships are finances. Are the bills getting paid on time? And who's responsible when they aren't? Well, I guarantee that compartmentalizing an issue such as finances, it will alleviate some of the stress, though not all. I mean, debt doesn't just magically disappear, but here's some quick resets for us. Identify the stressor or the main issue. Label it in a single, simple sentence. Make it simple, and then create a timeline for addressing it. So here's an example. I will address the unpaid bills Saturday at 10 a.m. for 45 minutes. Well, now your brain can step away. It knows the problem. It has an appointed time, and you will get to it. And then practice mental switching. My husband, Greg, did this when our kids were small. And he shared this with me. I didn't know this until later. When he passed over a certain railroad crossing coming home from the office, well, that was his cue to leave work behind and to be ready for walking in the door with 3 little boys who couldn't wait to see him and a wife and wrestle with him. Well, I never called it mental switching, but that's what he did. Mental switching is the art of shifting your internal focus when you enter a new environment. And so think of it as walking through a doorway and leaving one mental file behind to pick up another one. Now, athletes do this when they compete. Pilots do this. Surgeons do this. And we hope they continue doing this when we are flying across the country or we're in the operating room. Yes, we want them to do this. So here's a question to ask. What mindset do I want to bring into this space? And then choose it deliberately. You can do this. And here's some self-talk, healthy self-talk. Well, right now, I'm fully here. This is where my attention belongs. My home gets the best of me, not what's left of me. Wow, that's a big one. My home gets the best of me, not what's left of me. Wow, that could change home lives, a lot of them, families. For those intrusive thoughts that keep popping up, create a written space where you can store those thoughts, a small notebook or a notes app that works perfectly, and write that thought down. And then close a list and continue your day. That removes the fear that you're just going to forget something important, and it frees your mind to focus and to practice that mental switching as you enter a new environment. That's so helpful. You've got to be able to just put it aside. And here's another step. Step 2 is to gain control of your schedule. Now, I'm giving you some steps. You'll have a download with this, but compartmentalizing stress, it's far easier when your calendar supports it. So I encourage you to create protected time blocks. And it's very practical and logical because our brain just loves clarity. And just think of those times you spent looking for your misplaced keys. Have you ever done that? Yes. When you create a specific place for those keys, it takes away the stress. And I speak from experience here. Now, a lot of times we have, even wireless and everything else that we have, but our stress responds to structure and organization. And this especially applies to organizing our time, which is one of our most valuable resources. And when the schedule compounds, time blocking for certain tasks, it helps to alleviate the mental energy and the stress it takes really to get things done. You can create as many time blocks as you need, but still be flexible enough. Well, we can change those blocks around if needed. So here's some ideas. Just helps to alleviate that mental energy. Time blocks for work tasks, for creative thinking. Yes, put creative thinking on your calendar, or, it won't happen if you don't, many times. Errands, finances, health, and exercise, even rest. And don't forget to prioritize personal time with family and relationships. So very important. When you give each of those areas a space, well, the other areas, they stop interrupting at least your mental focus. And if a work problem pops into your head at 9 p.m., you can say, well, no, that issue belongs tomorrow at 10 a.m. It's a good mental exercise for us. I realize this doesn't work for every single emergency, but your mind actually can believe that statement. It's a mindset. So here's another idea, is to build 2 daily anchors, morning and evening. You can even do 3 because you can do one in the middle of the day, but I'm going to focus on these 2. Anchors give your brain stability, even on turbulent days. And most people have 2 or 3 times a day when they naturally think more clearly. So identify yours, then set some anchors. So here's some examples of morning anchors, and these can be 10 to 20 minutes or even more. Spend time with gratitude or reflection. I journal every single morning, and actually I spend time with the scriptural devotion. It helps me focus for my day. Spend time with a simple affirmation of control, such as, well, I guide my day and I have it planned, and then go over a quick prioritization so you're mentally focused. Morning anchors, they set your mindset before the world just makes all of those endless demands. And there will be interruptions and changes, but those morning reflections, Oh, they are so very effective in guiding our daily mindset. And I do my best mental work in the morning hours. I schedule rote work other times in my day. And when you lean into your peak zones, that stress just reduces because the tasks that once drained you, now they just take less time and energy. For evening anchors, take 5 to 15 minutes for a couple tasks that can include a quick reset of your space. And it could mean clearing a desk or throwing away junk mail. This really helps me. If my desk is clearer, I just think better in the morning. And then you can write tomorrow's top 3 tasks. And this can be a game changer if you're not doing this. Plan the night before. It's very important. Take time for a moment of gratitude or prayer for what went right today. Focus on those right things. And then just release what went wrong. Gentle release of the day's tension. Stretching or an exercise session is great for this, even if you've already worked out. Just stretching. And I like to read before bed as it relaxes me and gets me away from screen time that can hinder sleep. Plus, it's just a different thing to think about. Evening anchors signal to your brain, we're done for today. It's safe to rest, to relax. Use compartmentalization. Boy, that's a long word. Micro-compartmentalization. So I'm going to talk about the 10-minute reset. Oh, I love this one. This tool is a lifesaver on heavy days. And when everything feels like way too much, do this. And I wish I thought I had my timer right in front of me if you're watching the video, but I have a 10-minute timer. Set a timer for 10 minutes. And I keep a timer in my office. It's very handy. I use it for so many things. I use it for cleaning my office when I don't feel like it, especially putting a limit on my screen time or moving ahead with paperwork that I don't really want to do. The list goes on and on. Just setting that timer. And one important thing is to focus on one area during those 10 minutes and then stop when the timer ends. Now, I have to admit that sometimes I reset my timer for 10 more minutes and then 10 more minutes, but it's intentional and it's measured. It doesn't just go on endlessly and you're down rabbit trails. This works so well, so don't discount this step. This small micro compartmentalization, it creates visible progress, which calms your stress system and it restores a sense of control. So here's the third step is to gaining control over life details. Stress multiplies. When small tasks, they just pile up into one huge mountain. It's just like manure, just keeps going, right? Compartmentalizing those life details, the financial, relational, household, emotional, all of that, it prevents just overwhelm. So create a weekly personal an admin, I could say administration, but admin hour. And this single hour, it can change your life. And during this time, this is what you can handle. Decide for yourself. Bills, banking and budget review, appointments, messages that need real responses, paperwork you've put off, or other small tasks you haven't gotten to. Just spend that hour, block it out. And when there's a designated time for those admin things, they stop cluttering up your mental space and your energy every day. And you could put it on your calendar and use that energy in other areas that are more enjoyable, that we just keep thinking, otherwise we just keep thinking about them. And here's one I love. Practice one-touch living. And this goes back to the principle of essentialism. If you've not read that book, Essentialism, it's great. I try to read it once a year. When possible, touch things once, and you can get rid of the clutter, both mentally and physically. And here's some ideas. Pay the bill when you open it or automate it, but always check on it. Make sure it's been paid. Boy, that's happened before. Reply to the important message instead of rereading it 4 times, 5 times. It gets in your inbox. It's like, oh, I thought I deleted this. Otherwise, delete it right then. Put the item back where it belongs. Oh my, this is a good one. Marie Kondo's book on tidying, it changed my life on this. I can honestly say that now I can find things much easier. It's amazing how this happens. And here's a good one. You're going to laugh. Wash the dish after you use it. I've told my kids this so many times, but I have to follow my own advice as well, especially if I'm home alone. This simple practice, it lowers stress dramatically because clutter, physical or mental, it creates hidden anxiety. And then set emotional boundaries at home and work. And we don't do this often enough. This can be communicated to ourselves and to others in a logical and a kind way. Boundaries, they're mental little compartments. They keep environments from bleeding into each other. For example, at work, well, we can clarify our role, but still at times we can be willing to take on a few extra projects. And then we can limit our availability to outside work hours and communicate timelines clearly. We just might not be available. It's very important to address issues early instead of just letting them build. This is important with holiday schedules, with millions of events going on. It applies personally as well as professionally. Decide what is enough and what's too much. And at home, depending on relationships and personalities, we can set aside no conflict times. Establish technology breaks with no phones, no TV or computer and electronics. And we can create shared responsibilities, but then just also be willing to take up the slack. Name and schedule financial discussions so they don't become constant tension. Oh, this is such a problem in many families. Or they don't build up to a point where they're overwhelming. And healthy boundaries, they create more emotional safety and fewer unexpected stress spikes. And here's another wonderful word of advice. Allow yourself recovery moments. Compartmentalizing, it isn't rigid. It allows space for rest. Wow, that should just make you relax right now. Recovery moments, they can be small. I've talked about mini vacations that can be a couple hours in the day even, or they can even be smaller with a 5-minute walk, or time out for deep breathing, or 10 minutes of calming music, or going outside in the sunlight with a large glass of water or sun tea, or sitting quietly just for a minute or two. And what I love to do, if you followed any of my posts or any of my writing, I love getting a pair of trimming shears and going outside to trim on our trees and bushes. We have plenty to trim on our property. And those moments, they protect the brain from overload and they're stress relievers. So here's our step 4. When compartmentalizing becomes a power tool. Well, I love using the illustration of power tools as I used them in my book, Bad Code, when effectively approaching mental hacking. And I used my dad's toolbox and we put in the power tools. And compartmentalizing stress is one of those power tools. It's not just a coping mechanism, it's a superpower when practiced consistently. And it helps us think clearly and make decisions confidently and preventing emotional overflow. And we can avoid burnout, strengthen relationships, protect creativity, and we can reclaim a sense of purpose. And it's the difference between reacting to life and leading your life. So it's an important tool. So in our step 5, I'm going to give you a practical blueprint you can start today. And again, there's a download with this, and you can change this however you want, but I've included these steps here, this guide with the article, because I really want you to be successful. And here's a simple, realistic pathway to implement everything we've discussed really over a 3-week timeline, which is really perfect for the holidays. So day 1 to 3, you can build your mental framework and you can name your top 3 stressors and you label them mine to carry or not mine to carry right now. And then just start this parking lot list for runaway thoughts and just leave those thoughts there. Write them down, leave them there, close the book. Day 4 to 7, you want to structure your schedule. Create 3 time blocks each day. Now, I've talked about 2, but you can create 3. Establish a morning and evening anchor, and then just use 2 10-minute resets during the week. In your second week, strengthen boundaries. This is not easy. You want to clarify one work boundary, one home boundary, and then choose a consistent personal admin hour. That will change your life through the holidays. That admin hour. And then week 3 and beyond, maintain and grow. Identify your peak focus zones. Understand when you do your best work. And it's okay if you're an evening person, night person, just figure it out and keep practicing mental switching and add one recovery moment daily and celebrate every single small win. Compartmentalization is a skill that builds over time, but the effects, they show up immediately. And here's some final thoughts. You can create breathing room again. Life will never be completely stress-free. That's unrealistic. But it can absolutely become manageable, organized, and peaceful enough for you to breathe, for you to think, and for you to live with purpose and clarity. And you don't have to carry everything at once. You don't have to multitask all the time. And you don't have to solve everything today. And you're not powerless in the overwhelm. Compartmentalizing stress, it gives you back control of your mindset. That's important. Your own mindset, your schedule, and the many moving details of your life. And it allows you to show up as your best self, not the just exhausted, stressed out, stretched thin version of you, but the grounded, capable, resilient version that you've always had. You've had that inside. Let it come out. So with small, consistent steps, you can create emotional stability, mental clarity, and the space that you need to live your next chapter with confidence and strength. Now, if you need more help, make sure you contact me at goalsforyourlife.com. Just to fill out a little bit of contact form, and I'm happy to set up a 15-minute call. I'm wonderful there. And also, we have a Power of After consultation GPT. And I have put the links in this article and also in the podcast notes to make sure that you connect with it's free. And it can give you many of our life principles that we already have published, that we've already, our intellectual property. You get all of those for free on this GPT, Power of After GPT. So make sure that you get that. And also that you have a couple of these applications, such as what stressor can you label not mine to carry right now? That's a good one. And what time block can you add tomorrow to regain control? And what boundary do you need to reinforce this week? And what small recovery moment can you personally practice? Wow. Powerful, powerful principles. So thank you for joining me. Make sure that you get our newsletters, goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter. And I give you so many free resources as well. And make sure that you connect with us every single week for our Power of After show and many other things. And you check out our new GPT. Very, very just valuable. And it'll answer a lot of your questions, give you a whole list of things that you can work on to create your next chapter. Thanks so much again for joining me. And I will look forward to being with you again next time. So bye-bye for now. Thanks so much for spending time with me today. I love bringing you insights to help you maximize your skills, resources, and experience at mid-career and beyond so that you can make your next chapter your most impactful and purposeful yet. I'm Deborah Johnson, and I can't wait to be with you again next time on the Power of After show.